The prevalent criticism of African education for its theoretical emphasis, often at the expense of practical learning, underscores the urgent need for reform. This issue has profound implications for students, educators, and the broader economy. Many African education systems, rooted in rote learning and memorization, fail to equip students with the critical thinking and practical skills essential for success in the modern world. This emphasis on theory over practice can be traced back to colonial times when the primary aim of education was to produce clerical workers to serve in colonial administrations. Today, despite numerous reforms, the legacy of this system lingers, with many schools and universities still prioritizing theoretical knowledge over practical application. For instance, in many African countries, students in fields such as engineering and agriculture spend more time learning abstract theories in classrooms than in workshops, labs, or fieldwork. This has led to a disconnect between what is taught in schools and what is required in the job market, resulting in many graduates not adequately prepared for employment. While it is true that African education systems have been criticized for their theoretical emphasis, it is important to recognize the potential for change. The complexities and nuances within this argument should not overshadow the progress that has been made and the contextual challenges that shape these systems. Emphasizing theoretical knowledge is not necessarily a flaw but can be seen as a strategic foundation upon which practical skills can be built, offering hope for a more balanced approach in the future. The theoretical orientation in African education often responds to systemic challenges such as inadequate funding, lack of infrastructure, and limited access to modern technology. In many African countries, schools and universities operate with constrained resources, making it difficult to establish and maintain the practical components of their curricula, such as laboratories, workshops, and fieldwork facilities. While this creates a scenario where theory often takes precedence, it does not mean that educators and policymakers are unaware of the need for practical skills. Instead, they are usually forced to prioritize within a context of scarcity. The focus on theoretical knowledge can also be a pragmatic decision to ensure that a broad education base is delivered, especially in countries where access to education is uneven and where there is a need to provide a foundational understanding that can be applied in diverse contexts. Furthermore, theory is fundamental to developing critical thinking and analytical skills. Contrary to the belief that theory and practice are mutually exclusive, a solid theoretical foundation is essential for understanding complex problems and developing innovative solutions. In fields like engineering, medicine, and agriculture, theory provides the underlying principles that guide practical applications. For example, in medicine, understanding human anatomy and the pathology of diseases is crucial for any practical medical procedure. Similarly, engineering's theoretical knowledge of physics and mathematics is necessary to design and build structures. Practical applications would lack depth and sustainability without a solid grasp of theory. Thus, the emphasis on theory should not be dismissed as irrelevant or inadequate but rather seen as a necessary component of a comprehensive education system. Numerous African examples exist where education systems actively integrate practical skills and competencies into their curricula. In recent years, many African countries have introduced reforms to promote competency-based education and training, such as the Competency-Based Curriculum, CBC, in Kenya or the Competency-Based Training, CBET, approach in Tanzania. These initiatives aim to bridge the gap between theory and practice by focusing on the skills and competencies required in the labor market. Despite implementation challenges, such as large class sizes and limited resources, these efforts recognize the importance of practical skills and an ongoing commitment to educational reform. While these initiatives may face obstacles, they represent a significant step toward aligning education with the job market's needs. It is also essential to recognize that African education systems do not operate in isolation. Global trends and international standards influence them. The theoretical emphasis in many African curricula often aligns with international educational frameworks and accreditation standards. For example, many African universities strive to maintain parity with global institutions to ensure their graduates compete in the international job market. This necessitates a balance between theory and practice, as global standards often require a robust theoretical foundation. Moreover, in an increasingly interconnected world, the mobility of students